And among the things you had said, sir, was the need to limit political control over the police. Are you astounded again, for want of a better word, that till today there has been no political will to do this, to implement what you had suggested?
I wouldn't say I'm astounded, but I'm definitely disappointed that in spite of the Supreme Court having given its judgment in 2006 after a protracted PIL which lasted for 10 years, even to date the states are dragging their feet in the matter of implementing the directions of the Supreme Court. And there has been no commitment on the part of any state government. So, I mean, I would say all political parties across the spectrum are to blame if police reforms have not been introduced as mandated by the Supreme Court. I mean, one of the very important recommendations, directions by the Supreme Court was that the police needs to be insulated from external pressures, and for that they wanted the state security commissions to be set up in different states. Well, some states have set up state security commissions, but in the process they have diluted its composition, they have reduced its powers and curtailed its mandate. Whereas the Supreme Court wanted this to be a body whose recommendations are binding, they have made it a recommendatory body. The sum and substance is that there is a farcical compliance of Supreme Court's directions. And I mean, this thing has been said so many times, and every time there is a crisis we talk of police reforms, every time there is a crisis we talk of Supreme Court's directions, but after the situation normalizes and people go back to their respective locations and vocations, things are back to square one and people forget about the police reforms.
Can I ask you, sir, that on this question of hate speeches and the filing of FIRs in hate speeches, if you had been heading the Delhi police today, would you be waiting for the court to give an order to file FIRs?
Look, I belong to a school where I would not wait for directions either from the executive or from the courts. I would do what is mandated by law, what is expected of a police officer without waiting for any directions. I mean, that is what I have been, that is how I have been taught, that is how I have been brought up, and these are the values we have cherished. But today somehow a culture has developed where for everything, for even small matters, you look up to the state capital and the home minister or the chief minister, कि साहब इसमें क्या किया जाए? अरे what क्या किया जाए? You have the books of law before you, you have the constitution before you,
have the powers,
and these are your guidelines, and you have all the powers. You don't need any directions from above.
Well, Ajoy Kumar, you've been an IPS officer, now you're a politician. What do you make of the stunning fall of the police? I mean, if citizens don't have faith in the people who are supposed to protect us, and this is not just these riots where we've seen the Delhi police utterly fail us as citizens, I mean, a series of things that have happened. Their handling of the student protests and their mishandling, their complicity. They're not just standing by and being inept, they're complicit in so much of this.
So, Nidhi, if you look at it, I think it's been the story of police for the past 70 odd years, which has changed in terms of events, and now it's in Delhi and it's got much more coverage. But if you see the history of police, and like Mr. Prakash Singh correctly said, that whether it's Hashimpur incident, whether it's riots in Bihar, whether it's riots everywhere, whether it's Bombay riots, the continuous failure of police is fundamentally for the simple reason the impact has become much worse now. For the fundamental reason is interference, definitely yes. The second issue is the ability of the government to extract revenge on the police officers, which is actually scaring everyone. The fact is no civil servant will be speaking, but why do you think civil servants don't act? They don't act not because they don't want to act. They are scared of the repercussions of that act. That means transfer, inquiry, stopping pension. And then you fundamentally come back to the same question is, how do you protect them? So however you want to beat the police on this issue, he's always looking over his shoulder to see what the political executive, it used to never happen. See, you had tall leaders in the 60s and 70s, and maybe I've seen it in Bihar. You had huge amount of interference. So it's politically agnostic. It's not a particular political tribe which is doing it.
Totally.
No,
totally
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And that's what and as per the discussion. And you will continue to see Delhi unless you change the police. And the country needs to answer this question is, are we ready to pay? Because finally it's easy to blame the cops. FIRs registered against all political parties. Whether it's Aam Aadmi, Congress, BJP, put them in prison, you would have known it. Second issue, I'll just finish it with, as a police officer, as a young police officer, I realized my mistake. We had a small communal incident in Patna, and the signals were there before. burning of shops. Now this I learned on the job, right? The standard protocol, I'm 100% sure Delhi was having these signals for the past 1 week. There were minor incidents of arson, and any police officer worth his salt. I hold the police commissioner, the last police commissioner, definitely responsible. That if these indicators are so clear for even a nincompoop, why couldn't you flood it? Forget the political leadership, because political leadership may interfere with letting people go. So net, India will continue to see these events unless we prevent it by bringing in, insulating the police and implementing the recommendation of the Supreme Court in spirit and law, protecting the police officers from action.